Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: it's the perfect send-off from Robbie Neilson as Hearts defeat Rangers to go second in the table. Mark Warburton, the Rangers manager, says the performance was not good enough and he's hoping they can bounce back against Aberdeen on Saturday. And St Johnstone boss Tommy Wright is keen to hold on to Danny Swanson, with Hibs reportedly hovering ready to pounce in the January transfer window. That's just a few of the topics we'll be discussing. Gordon Smith is our able deputy for Ruffy over the next week. The strains of a football season have taken their toll on Ruffy. He's having a wee break, and I'm delighted to say our boot-room guest as well is a man who doesn't suffer from stamina problems. Great to have former Hibs and Portsmouth winger Kevin Harper here with us in the studio as well. So let's get straight to the action. If it is a farewell, what a farewell. Hearts defeating Rangers by 2-0. Gordon Smith.
Yeah, I mean, there's two aspects in football without doubt for any team that plays. One is the result, another one is the performance. And from that point of view, last night Hearts and Rangers were in opposite camps because the result went Hearts' way. But that doesn't always mean to say your performance is bad when you're the team that loses. But on the night, Rangers were very poor. But I've got to give Hearts credit. I thought they played in a way that stopped Rangers playing completely. I mean, they went and closed them down as quickly as they could. They're quite a big, strong team, big physical lads. But the main thing was the amount of work rate they put in. They just stopped Rangers playing, and it was a well-deserved victory.
So someone put a tweet out to me last night saying, why would Robbie Neilson decide to go to League One, instead of staying at Hearts? And I automatically just said, money. It's got to be money, Kevin.
I think it'll be a little bit of that, but I think there's more credit down there. Although League One is, probably not the place you want to go, but to get down there, you get in that merry-go-round. If he does well, then you just look at Alec Neil down there as well. So I think it's a fantastic move for him. Personally, as obviously an ex-Hibs player, I think he's done fantastic at Hearts. He's brought in a lot of young players. They play a good style of football. Hearts are always going to be big and strong and powerful. I think over the years they have been, but it's a great move for him if and when it does happen. Yeah,
and true to his word over the last couple of weeks, Robbie Neilson has mentioned that his strikers will eventually come good. And Bjorn Johnsen scored, and now Robbie Muirhead's chipped in, and he got a good couple of goals. Albeit, the marking at the back end of the post wasn't up to a high standard, Gordon, but he still has to be there in the right position.
Exactly. I mean, and the thing is, those were his first 2 goals this season, but he played well. I mean, he doesn't just offer the goals, Muirhead. He's active, and he's got a good left foot. He takes a lot of their set pieces as well, corners and free kicks, and he does that well. But he got his 2 goals last night. I was very impressed also with Johnsen. I thought he was excellent. I think Rangers could hardly handle him. And it has been a change, because they started off, it was Connor Salmon and Tony Watt that were actually getting the game initially, with the 2 strikers that were given first choice. But that's changed now. Hearts have looked at it and thought, okay, here's 2 other players, and they were a good combination last night. I mean, they've got young Jamie Walker as well. It was almost like a 4-4-2, but 4-3-3 at times, because Walker certainly gets forward a lot and can get in the box. Muirhead played sort of wide left, but he floats about. As I say, I thought just the work rate, even for those players, in terms of the amount of work rate they went going back the way too, like stopped Rangers playing. But they pressed quite high up the park. Rangers were trying to get the ball out. They lost 2 shocking goals, I have to say that. I mean, the 2 goals, if you actually stopped it and filmed and looked at the positions of players, where the back 4 was and all that, it was very poor. As you say, there's a tap in for the second goal. But I mean, Hearts made a run there. Walker made a run forward, and there wasn't a single Rangers player on top of him as he ran into the box to make that cross.
Yeah, listen, in the time it took Rangers to score the goal, I'd already tweeted 1-1, and then the linesman decided it was offside, Kevin. That shows you that it was really a long period of time. It was 13 seconds before the linesman eventually puts his flag up, which I think irked Mark Warburton, but in the end it was probably the right decision.
Yeah, I think that time is incredible. It should never happen. I think the offside law, we keep talking about it consistently. If someone's offside, they're offside, whether they touch the ball or whether they don't. I think we have to break it down, but for it to wait for 13 seconds to see if it is offside, if he believes it's offside or not. You could see that in television replay quicker than that, and the game would be started.
Yeah, but the rule now is, I mean, it's active and inactive, they call it. And the thing is, you could be in an offside position and not be ruled offside. The shot, even though there could have been 3 players standing in offside position with that shot, and the goal would have been allowed. What they were what they thought happened was that he blocked the goalkeeper's vision, and that's when if you actually become active. Then, even though you're in an offside position, that you're not generally going to be penalised for it, because they think that he stopped the goalkeeper seeing that shot coming. That's why it was ruled offside.
I think it's down to someone's perception if someone's in going to affect the keeper or not. So for me, just make it. If you're in an offside position like it used to be, you're offside. Whether you're active or inactive, you know, we get mixed up so much now, you know, and that causes the problems. Yeah,
well, if that was the case, then even Zlatan Ibrahimovic wouldn't have got one of his goals last night, because he was active when it eventually got to second phase ball. There you go. I'm reading up on all those rules, but obviously there are things that I do with my time rather than look at the complete rule book. One thing I'm glad you mentioned there, it was down to Hearts' performance. I think sometimes, you know, if you defeat Celtic or Rangers, it gets lost on, oh, they were poor.
Yes.
I thought Hearts were magnificent. You know, said about their job, got in about them. I think everybody I'd spoken to prior to the game had thought Rangers are there for the taking, because the cracks were already there for the last 2 games. So I'm now in a situation where I'm looking at it. Rangers fans, there's just those rumblings of discontent. I think, you know, now in the big league, last year it was all about, you know, winning every week and talking about how great a coach Mark Wolverton is. Now there's a real test for him. It's Aberdeen coming up. You know, and they're already rolling out the stats, Gordon. If he doesn't beat Aberdeen, you know, he's got a poorer record than Paul Le Guen.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, I felt this would be a real test for Rangers. I mean, the Celtic game's coming up in Hogmanay, obviously, it's a wee bit away, because there's other games before that. I mean, I think Rangers have got another 5 games before they even play against Celtic. But the main thing about it is that this was the test to see where they are in terms of the development of the team for going forward, because it was Hearts away, then Aberdeen, but then it's Hearts again. The next 2 games are both at home, obviously, but already they saw you know, a sign last night that the Hearts looked a better side. So that's now, they've played against the 3 teams that are up there at the top. Celtic, they've lost to Celtic twice this season, but once in the league, but they also lost to Aberdeen in the league. Much tighter performance, a better performance at Aberdeen, I have to say. I thought that was a tighter game, and Rangers had a chance of winning that one, but last night was different. Last night was a real deserved defeat and a poor performance, and that's why, you know, a home game coming up on Saturday, he has to lift that team, Mark Warburton, or there will be rumblings, certainly if Aberdeen beat them on Saturday, because Aberdeen would then go ahead of Rangers with 2 games in hand.
Let's have a look at that table just to highlight the points you're making there, Gordon. Celtic out in front, Hearts in second position, then it's Rangers, Aberdeen and St Johnstone, and at the bottom end it's Inverness, Killie and Thistle. And of course Rangers, you mentioned, have got Aberdeen. Hearts are away to Ross County, and this was Jim McIntyre's take on his league position, and of course the opposition they're facing at the weekend.
That tight between, you know, bottom place team to, you know, 5th place, so, you know, a couple of wins either way, see you fall down or push on up. It's our objective to try and be more consistent and get ourselves into that top 6 by, you know, the January break.
I always view Ross County as the team that can make signings in the January transfer window that can get them away from danger, but of course he has to go with the squad he has at his disposal and take on a Hearts side brimming with confidence.
Certainly didn't look unsettled last night, did they? You know, they put on a fabulous performance and, you know, could have won the game by more, you know, so that showed that the players, you know, are fully focused on the games at hand. You know, players, you know, adjust. Whether a manager stays or go, they get on with their own stuff, and they've got good players there, so they're still more than capable of winning games. So no, I don't think that'll affect them.
At the bottom end, you could pick anyone from what, 6, 7 teams, Kevin. It's the toughest league ever.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think obviously the top 4 are probably, you know, including St John. I'll put St Johnstone in the 5 that are probably stretching away. But like you say, you could put a cloak over you know, the rest of them, and I think it's going to be like that to the end of the season. You know, I know Jim McIntyre from my time at Dunfermline when he was a manager there, and his teams will certainly work hard, and I think they'll be okay. They'll definitely be okay. I think they probably overperformed last year.
Yeah, I haven't checked it, Peter, but there can be a situation, I can imagine, anywhere in Europe and other leagues where more than half of the teams are separated by 2 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I'm just writing this down. Kevin Harper says Ross County will be okay. We always like to throw that back at you, Kevin, if it doesn't come true and you're putting money on it. We'll have more from Kevin Harper, what he's up to and what he'd like to do in football. That's all coming up after the break. Join us if you can. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. Don't adjust your sets. Ruffy hasn't decided to dye his hair black and lose a heck of a lot of weight in the space of 24 hours. Gordon Smith is in the chair with us. Delighted to have him here alongside our bookroom guest, Kevin Harper. Well, listen, your old club are involved in what I think is, you know, a fantastic game at Tannadice. We're talking about just under 3,000 Hibs fans, shifted tickets, 8,000 Dundee United fans. It's first against second. Here's the table for you to look at, Kevin. It's just set up brilliantly with Hibs out in front with a 3-point advantage over Dundee United, and Ray McKinnon has slowly but surely started to work wonders with them.
Yeah, he has. I think both managers deserve huge credit. I think Ray's came in and he's changed the team. He's brought in a lot of players, and they did have that little blip at the start of the season where they were really struggling for results. But I think Neil Lennon's come in at Hibs, and it just seems as if it's been a seamless transition almost. You know, the only issue that I have is they've not had that little blip, and United are on their coattails. But I think, for me personally, I think it's a season that Hibs have to go up. They've been out the top league for so long, and you know, the players that are there will be, I think, worried. I know you keep hearing that they're worried about their future and things, but I think it'll be great atmosphere, back to the old days. Probably a full stadium, pretty much a full stadium at Tannadice tomorrow, and I think it'll be a wee bit of hell for leather. Yeah. So it goes. I think it'll be like a real cup tie.
Yeah, it's got that feel about it. I agree with you, Kevin, because this is Dundee United unbeaten in 10, Hibs unbeaten in 6.
Yes, I thought at the beginning of the season, I thought Hibs would be the strongest team in that league, and they would be quite comfortable by this stage, the way Hearts were like 2 seasons ago. But I do think that I've seen a difference in Dundee United, and they have come through, and now they are the challenge. This is a major test. I think it's a game everyone should be looking forward to. Full crowd. I mean, even though it's a championship, it's 2 teams who are desperate to get back up at the highest level and should be at the highest level. And I think that, you know, it'll be interesting to see whether Dundee United's improvement is taking them to a level where they say, right, we're now going to challenge for the #1 spot.
I hate to say this, and I think both teams come into the category, although who drops out of that Premiership, I do not know, but we need teams like Hibs and Dundee United in the top flight, and it's just inconceivable not having Hibs there next season.
Oh, it is a scary thought. You know, there's teams, you know, they 2 teams are the biggest teams, you know. Probably within we were talking about the lower half of the Premier League. They 2 teams you would imagine most of the seasons would be in the top 6. You know, obviously they're in theory, but it's a Premiership game tomorrow, no doubt about it. You know, and I think we need, like you say, we need the 2 teams back in the Premier League, because it brings revenue, it brings more fans out. You know, for 3,000 Hibs fans to go up to Dundee United, you know, the Hibs are getting 8, 9, 10,000 every other week. You know, some of the clubs aren't even reaching the 3,000 in the Premier League.
I know, and we've lost 8 good derby matches in the league as well, with Hearts and Hibs and Dundee United. It's terrible that we've lost those big games too.
Revenue as well, you know. Revenue, absolutely. People want to see derbies, don't they?
Yes.
Who's going to win it?
Hibs.
Yeah.
I think Dundee United can win it.
Yeah,
I think they can win it. I wouldn't be surprised, Hibs, because I think Hibs are better, but I think Dundee United are on a run. I think they can win the game.
I think Hibs don't concede. I think that's the big thing. You know, their defensive record's fantastic, and you know, I've got to say whether I fancied Dundee United or not, definitely got to say Hibs.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do you fancy Dundee United to win this or not? That's fine, because right now, and I can speak from experience on this, Kevin, there are people in Edinburgh just throwing Wellington boots at the television saying, I knew he'd say that anyway. But it's going to be an absolute cracker at Tannadice. Dundee United against Hibernian. Of course, Hibernian have been linked with a move for Danny Swanson. He's been playing really well for St Johnstone, and Tommy Wright's been talking about that today, with the speculation growing.
With no contact, and I know Neil learning well, so I expect, a phone call. I'm sure Neil would do things right if there was any interest in Danny, but no, nothing official. I mean, this is the time when the papers have licensed to speculate and print things that may or may not be true. It's not unsettling for me as a manager. I want Danny signed up as quickly as possible, and I have to make sure that I don't get frustrated with that and focus on the team. But whatever happens. I mean, there's not a lot. I want Danny here. I've told the chairman, since last April I've wanted him here, and we've got to make sure that we do everything we possibly can to keep him.
Sometimes, Kevin, if you've got a manager that brings out the best in you stick with him. He's 29, scored 11 goals, and in the two spells that he's had good football, it's with St Johnstone. Yeah,
I think he's got to weigh up his options, really, sit and think about it. I think Hibs are a bigger club than St Johnstone. St Johnstone are obviously in the Premier League, which is a huge attraction. You're playing against Celtic and Rangers. He's doing really, really well at St Johnstone. I think he fits there perfectly. And it's a big risk. It is a big risk going for. Maybe he might be getting more money at Hibs, offered more money, lower division. They're not guaranteed to go up, although I believe they will go up. So I think it's a risky one, but I think he has to weigh up the pros and cons. And if St Johnstone want to keep him, then they have to show him, that they do want to keep him.
Yeah. 2 or 3 points I want to get your thoughts on, lads, before we talk about yourself, Kevin. Just briefly, Motherwell assistant James McFadden was speaking this morning. He says, Celtic are not unbeatable. Somebody's going to beat them, and obviously he thinks that Motherwell will stand a good chance. I'm not too sure that they are the team that's going to be celebrating eventually, beating Celtic domestically.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, you can't really say that MD's unbeatable as such, but there need to be two factors that would cause that. One would be that Celtic have an off day, and the other one is that the team they're playing against has an on day, plays a bit special. Because even the teams that you think are most capable of doing it, maybe even Aberdeen. You look back to that cup final last week, and Aberdeen are such a good side, and yet just get blown away. You're absolutely right. It's beaten so comfortably, and Celtic have got the players. Depends. I mean, even you think about it, Peter. After Christmas, they're not even going to have European football to worry about anymore. So Celtic are going to just be concentrating on game to game, league winning, going for the treble.
Yeah. It was great when you said that there, Gordon. You said there are 2 contributing factors to teams that are unbeatable, and I thought they don't have Thierry Henry or Dennis Bergkamp. Just a minor technicality, but nevertheless, somebody might do it, somebody might not. You might want to give us your thoughts on that at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Kevin, as ever with footballers, and I think when I look at your experience, Stoke City, Portsmouth, Hibernian, Dunfermline, and a number of other clubs, we always think there's so much experience that you want to be able to pass on. I would presume that if there was a manager out there looking for a coach, you would jump at it just to try and get your foot in the door.
Yeah, for sure, Peter. I've gained experience from really good managers, starting out with Alec Miller at Hibs, and then Jim Smith and Steve McLaren at Derby. Tony Pulis and Harry Redknapp at Stoke, Portsmouth, and then Tony Pulis again at Stoke. So I've got a lot of knowledge. It's very difficult to get back in. That's the fact of the matter. There's so few jobs, and there's a lot of good candidates out there as well. And I believe that I'm one of the good candidates as well. So just looking to see, I've got my badges. So it's just trying to get on and pass my knowledge on to other players, and and gain even more knowledge as well.
In a strange sort of way, Gordon, sometimes it's almost like It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a sad indictment of our game.
It can be that way, there's no doubt about it. It's difficult when you're out of things to try and get in, because you're right, people tend to maybe go for people that worked a long way and friends and all that sort of thing. So I'm hoping you can get somewhere, because they're good people you worked a long way. In terms of, who was unusual of these managers? Who had ideas that you were quite surprised about?
I think Steve McLaren was the one, looking back on it, because even then, I'm trying to think how long ago that was. That was about 10 plus years ago. No more than that, actually. Just under 20 years ago. And everything that Steve McLaren done at Derby always rolled into something else. So every training session, you would go with the fitness coach first, and then he would put on a session, and then another session. But looking back on it, I was like, oh, that just session goes into that and then. But every session was geared towards the Saturday, even from early on in the week. So if you were doing like a possession session, that would then go into the crossing and finishing session, the next session of that same day, and then you would incorporate the two things into the game at the end.
Well, listen, I'll tell you, fingers crossed that someone out there is listening to what you have to say. I'm glad you mentioned Steve McLaren. From Steve McLaren and Kevin Harper and Gordon Smith, I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you get a coach's vacancy, call Kevin.